60 Kvu Minutes. It's Sunday night, the most boring night of the week. But we're going to change that with punk from Italy. Over to you, Magnus.
Silenzio Statico with Indigesti, one of the most important and best hardcore band from Italy. From the northwest of Italy area, and started in November 81 and did loads of tours in Europe and even United States. Over to Raw Power with the song Raw Power. Raw Power with State Oppression. Hardcore can't be better than that. The lovely velvet voice of a Raw Power. So they started in 81 in Poviglio, Italy, with the two brothers Mario and Giuseppe. And they toured America several times and put out several records. We're going forward with Negazione non mi dire. Turin-based Negazione. And now over to our foreign correspondent in Milano, Laura Bianco.
Hi, Laura. Can you hear us? Hi. So, how's the weather in Milan?
It's super hot. Yeah, especially in my house.
All right. So, what have you been doing recently? Any projects or anything special you've been working on?
I've been working on a project for Cultivera actually in the last months with illustrations of Nisse Afzelius. And then for the rest, actually, I have been exploring the countryside life. I went to the countryside to learn many things.
Okay. So, what have you been learning? Have you been working on farms or have you just been hiking around?
Yeah, no. I've been working on farms, and I've learned. I mean, I start from really zero, so I've learned to chop woods, and I've learned a bit of agriculture, and then I've been feeding the animals. I also learned how to go on a horse a little bit. So yeah, for me it's totally new because I am from the city. So I was interested in trying this. I think I will continue for the whole summer.
Ah, lovely.
So Laura, when your father had his record store, did he have any punk and hardcore and alternative music in his store?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think probably it would be better if you ask to him directly, but because I don't know exactly all the music that he has, but yeah, I think he also has some punk records for sure.
You mentioned some year ago that one of your father's friends used to be in a Milano punk band. Do you remember the name of the band?
Now I don't remember. I'm sorry. Yeah, I remember that time because I didn't know anything about punk and you asked me something, so I thought about calling my father, and he told me a lot of things. Yeah, and he also told me about this band who was always at how is it called, like occupied place in Milan.
Was this the venue virus? The virus? Could that
Yeah,
be?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was probably one of the founder of that place, like one of the creator, and he was also inside the band. But now I don't remember the name, unfortunately.
Because it was quite a famous in hardcore circles called virus, a venue or a squat or something like that.
Yeah.
So, do you have any? Do you listen to anything in that genre yourself, in the punk rock or hardcore or that direction?
No, no, unfortunately not. I don't know anything about this genre actually.
So, yeah, thank you, Laura, our foreign correspondent from Milan. Thank you.
Arrivederci.
Yeah.
Arrivederci.
Ciao.
Arrivederci. Ciao, thank you.
And now Declino med Infito Trinuffo. That was Declino. And we're going further with Putrid Fever and Aikido. And they used to be on a record company called Belfago Records that one of my pen pals back in the day in the 80s, Stefano Bettini, was used to play in I Refuse, also started, and they put up like 10 records or so on the small company. So Putrid Fever. I'm sitting here with my sidekick, Frank Bergsten. I used to play 15 years with Rövsvett, a famous Swedish hardcore band. And the next song we're going to play is Life's a Punishment by Cheetah Crome Motherfuckers. And Frank and me and Loken from Rövsvett have some a bit bad and sad memories of that, because we went from Sweden to Copenhagen to see Negazione and Cheetah Crome Motherfuckers, but we didn't find the venue. You have any remembrance? You remember something about, Frank?
First of all, I just want to say buongiorno, dear listeners. That was a quite disastrous journey. Well, it was very fun, but we didn't achieve what we wanted to, namely see the bands, because we went to the wrong place that happened to have the same name as the place we were going to go to, namely Ungdomshuset.
And we end up in Huset.
Huset, yes, that's correct. So the day after, when we waited for the train to go home, a punk rocker passed by, and I ran after him and asked him if the gig had been cancelled. And he said, no, I was there. And I was a bit puzzled because, well, we've been here all night. Well, you went to the wrong place then, because it was Ungdomshuset.
Yeah, and this Huset also some have some rock and roll gigs and that kind of thing.
A bit of an alternative vibe.
Yeah, so it was that's a bit strange. But anyway, it was some fun, drunk night. I can't really remember what year it was, because we like it's 85 or something. Or
mid-80s, 84, 85, something.
Yeah, we play Life of Punishment with Cheetah Crome Motherfuckers.
Start on the burn.
that was the classic Cheetah Crome motherfuckers. And next song gonna be Finari Mai by Wretched. And Wretched, I think one of the first Italian hardcore band I heard some, and I was a bit skeptic for the first time I heard because I think the drums were sound a bit like cardbox style.
Yeah, cardboard box.
Yeah.
Punk.
But I learned to like them more better later. But I think that was the introduction to Italian hardcore. But then you heard some Raw Power and the Indigesti and other bands with fantastic energy and hard style. So, Wretched. Go directed to Peggio Punx. No May. That was Peggio Punx from Alessandro, Italia, and we started in the 80s. We're going further with Contrazione and Sbarre.
Public service announcement. If you heard a bang during that song, it was probably the engineer dispatching a fly.
That was Contrazione. And now we go further with Kina with Questo Anni. And Kina was involved with this record company called Blue Bus. And also several other great companies called FOAD and Tvor and Belfago Records and several others indie thing. And Kina did quite a lot of records. Questi anni. That was Quest'Anni with Kina. And I can really recommend the Italian punk hardcore movie documentary called Punk Hardcore 1980-89. And have you seen it, Frank?
I've seen some parts of it, and since it's about Italian hardcore early, it's obviously recommended.
Yeah, I think the documentary actually reminds me of American hardcore with some interviews and some clips from live gigs and posters and you could see like Wretched, Negazione, Cheetah Motherfuckers, Impact, Raw Power, Bloody Riot, Upset Noise, Nabat, Underage, Peggio, Punx, Crashbox, Indigesti, China, Declino, etc. Really, really good film. I saw it yesterday once again. It's the second time I saw it.
It's loads of great live clips from the bands.
And you can find it on YouTube.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, let's see, we go to once more Negazione and tutti pazzi.
Now. Now over to our correspondent in Åtvidaberg.
Hi, David.
Hello.
Hello. And
Hello.
Yep.
Or should we call you David today? It's the
Davide.
Italian
Davide.
flavor, you know.
Yes.
So is the weather in Åtvidaberg. So is the weather in Åtvidaberg.
It's växlande molnighet. No, it's actually it's a bit of thunder and lightning at the moment, which is kind of suitable.
Oh. Sounds
For
very
the-
hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very loud and edgy.
You're not sitting on the toilet or anything, are you?
No, all done.
Lovely.
Done.
Good.
So
Yeah.
so how do you find out about Italian hardcore from the beginning?
Oh my god! I think it was through. It was going. I went to a record shop in Linköping in Sweden, and called Tattoo Records on Östgötagatan. Apotekargatan is called. And a friend of you know him very well, Rebbe.
Yeah.
I think he had dropped off his sole record collection there. He decided to sell all the stuff and change, shed skin, and buy other types of music or whatever. So there was a lot of stuff there, and I just kind of got into punk and hardcore. I was like 13 at the time, and there were all these weird looking records. I mean, not weird. They just looked so incredibly punk and hardcore. They were one step further in design, and the packaging and everything was just so incredibly everything was one louder. It looked more punk or anarchist than Crass Records releases. They looked neat in comparison to these records, and they had like hundreds of inserts, and they were like weird like Wretched and Indigesti, and I refuse it. I mean, loads of stuff. So I just bought them because they were quite cheap, and I just bought all of them. And I came home and I realized this is something very different.
And I refused. It was quite original, I think.
Very original, yeah. I mean, they're miles away from any other, but they're still lumped together with the whole Italian punk and hardcore scene. They were kind of, I mean, they were friends with Cheetah, Crome motherfuckers, and well, they released that tape, didn't they? So, but that's the beauty of it. That's when I realized this is totally different, and the same thing with as I mentioned, everything was one step further. It was more extreme. It was more. It was worse. It was recorded even worse than the American or English.
Myself was quite. I was quite blown away by the aggressivity, how aggressive it was, and the energy of it.
The energy and the mania, I should say. It sounds manic. It's not.
The singing always sounds crazy.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, tutti pazzi. It's everyone's crazy. The key word when I remember at least talking about Italian hardcore in the 80s was like desperate. It sounded desperate.
Yeah, desperate. And they sound really, really pissed.
Yeah, but also, I mean, crazy, as you said. I mean, pissed, but to the verge of going crazy, going insane. And it was just a revelation. I mean, I can't say that I thought everything was great, but it was just the whole everything about it was just so incredibly what's the word I'm looking for?
Chaotic.
Extreme.
Chaotic and desperate.
Desperate, extreme, which felt it gave me a sense of freedom. It's like these guys don't. They it's not supposed to be music. Chaos, not music. That was Wretched, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It had that slogan and a crossed out musical note, and that really appealed. I thought it was really cool. It was just so and I found it really arty. It was art.
Yeah, especially I refuse it. It was quite arty.
Yeah, they were arty, but I mean, there's just the whole the extremeness of it. I found was this is not music; it's art.
Would you agree, David, that they sort of skipped the whole chorus verse thing? It was basically mayhem, chaos, and then a screamer on top of it. I mean, that was my first impression. It was completely all over the place, but that was the beauty of it.
Exactly, all over the place and all over the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what appealed to me. And it was so incredibly crusty. It was so incredibly squat-like. You hear stories about the virus squat in Milan, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And and it was just so. It was counterculture to the max.
We were actually we were interviewing the daughter of one of the founders of that place just a few minutes ago.
Virus.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. I'm really looking forward to hear this program when it's done. But
if you want say what records do you think are most important, the bands?
For me or generally?
For you.
In news.
In the Italian hardcore style.
What's that? Sorry.
From the Italian hardcore 80s.
Yeah. Well, for me. Personally, it's Negazione, Tutti Pazzi EP, and the Cheetah Crome motherfuckers first EP, and Wretched, Fini Romai. So they're the three ones that sort of, for me, that's when I first discovered it. And then I refused it, of course, but they took a bit longer to sort of grow on me because I wasn't looking for that at the time. The other ones gave me what I was looking for and more.
Did you ever see Negazione in Linköping, by the way?
Yeah, I saw them, but I remember being extremely disappointed because they were too metal. They turned metal.
Yeah, and I think they sound a bit tired if it was another gig.
Probably because they were.
Yeah,
I mean,
they play 100 gigs or something. Yeah, and Rosvet was open up for them.
Yes, and drinking coffee on stage. I remember famously.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so that was unfortunately a bit because I just wanted. I remember I wrote a review about that gig in my fanzine, and I said, "God damn it! I just want some desperate Italian hardcore."
Yeah. Did you ever go to Crashbox and Upset Noise also? And in shopping?
No. Yes, I did. Yeah.
Because I was disappointed also with the metal direction.
But this was 1987, and that was very difficult times for hardcore. I think because it was all over. Now I know because you studied it. I've studied. We all studied posthumously as well, and then you can sort of put these time markers down and say here's when sort of hardcore kind of died because everything's been done. All the bands that take it to the most extreme. And then people, of course, as everyone does, they start experimenting with other types of music because you can't, do that all the time, that screaming stuff, and you become better musicians, which is a problem if people want you to play Italian, the Italian hardcore craziness. So that was an era when everyone's looking for something different. Either people became more emo or more melodic, or they turned metal, kind of. So it was a weird time.
Yeah. Thank you, David. We have to go further with the program. We also have our correspondent in Åtvidaberg. And that was David Andersson, that is used to play in Identity and coming out with a book about Swedish raw punk and hardcore this year. And now I Refuse It. That was I Refuse It. We go further with Chain Reaction and Run. That was a lovely chain reaction with Run.
Oh yeah.
Crashbox with Vivi. That was Vivi with Crashbox. So Frank, you used to buy Maximum Rock and Roll quite early, like 1982 or something. And I remember it quite often was like scene reports from some Milano, Italy, Rome, etc.
Yeah. I happened to buy Maximum Roll first time I was in London, and I saw these fanzines with guys dressed up or dressed down, maybe I should say, as punks, and on the cover it said stuff like Brazilian punks and Italian hardcore and stuff like that. And I bought them, brought them to the hotel room, and I found a whole new world open up. And among them was, of course, scene reports from Italy, among other places. And there you found all those bands that we're now listening to.
Yeah, but I found out of quite brilliant because we always address you could order a cassette, a 7-inch, etc. So I agree. It was like a new world open up with the world of hardcore and punk. Before that, it was mostly British and American hardcore.
Absolutely. You can find records from Italy and all over Europe, and there were distributors selling records quite cheap, punk rock way, do it yourself. So
and several also started to exchange letters also and cassettes with some people in Italy.
Yeah, especially you.
Yeah. I remember some from Stefano Bettini from I Refuse It. I used to some swap records and so on.
Yeah. So that was a new way of discovering new punk rock music.
Yeah. And even now, like some more than 30 years later, there's even an archive by these letters, punk letters. That a folk archive in our region in Jönköping had some taken care of.
Yeah,
to research.
We gather all the letters from some people from this little sweet part of the world called Tranås. And we have gathered them and collected them, and now we have digitalized them. And
several artists have this like artist residence space take their view of some archive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's even come out a book in English by Dominic Williams called Punk, Pen and Print. Or what was it called?
Pen and paper, punk and print.
Yeah, we go to Impact, The Man Goes On. Next song gonna be RAF Punk. Contro la passa, contro la guerra. That was RAF Punk. The next song gonna be by Idiota, Civilizato. And Frank, I know you bought that record not so long ago.
No, even though I'm an old bastard, I try to keep up somewhat with the new punk rock music, and I found Idiota Civilizato that seems to be living in Berlin, but you know, punks, they move all over the place all the time, and when I listened to them, they sounded very much like old style hardcore, and I really, really liked it.
I think they put up a flag for old hardcore. Sporci senza fine with Idiota Civilizato.
Adesso, qui chiuso in questa stanza, il tempo mi ha fatto diventare sempre più scema.
We take one more song by the lovely Idiota Civilizato, Jimiti.
Haha, did you buy that one?
And there you go. That was this week's beautiful experience
Of Italian 80s hardcore and the contemporary Idiota Civilizato.